The Love That Cursed Her, a true royal tragedy.
She was not born into peace. Joanna of Castile opened her eyes beneath. The golden ceilings of a kingdom, forged in blood and conquest, where power was inherited, not just through titles, but through silence, obedience, and the illusion of perfection. As the daughter of Queen Isabella, who had conquered Granada and unified Spain, Joanna was never raised to be ordinary. She was educated in Latin, philosophy, theology, and politics, her mind sharpened by the weight of destiny.
But even as she surpassed every expectation, mastering diplomacy and dancing through court life with elegance, there was something within her, unruly and untamed, that frightened those who had carved the world into order. She felt too much, thought too deeply, and saw the cage behind the crown. To her mother, that passion was a flaw, one to be hidden behind arranged marriage and duty.
And so, when the Austrian alliance demanded it, Joanna was sent to marry Philip the Handsome.
She sailed toward a man she'd never met, toward a future that would devour her. But even as the ship cut through bitter seas, she whispered to the sky, "I was born to be more than silent." When she first saw him, it was not ceremony, it was fire.
Philip, golden-haired and impossibly beautiful,
stood in the cold Flemish air like a vision drawn from ancient gods.
And Joanna, cloaked in furs and duty, was consumed by a storm she never saw coming.
They fell into each other with reckless speed, their wedding night burning with the kind of hunger that could set kingdoms ablaze.
But love, when unequal, becomes a weapon.
Philip admired her passion, but feared her mind.
As she demanded to be heard, not just in their bed but in his court, he recoiled.
Her love was too loud, her grief too public, her thoughts too sharp. And the courtiers, loyal to him, began to whisper. When she screamed at his betrayals,
when she struck a mistress in fury,
when she wept for hours after being mocked, those same whispers became rumors. She is mad. And Philip, eager for control, fed the fire.
The world watched her unravel, but no one asked who had pulled the thread.
In a palace filled with gold, Joanna stood surrounded by ghosts, not of the dead,
but of the woman she had once been. Philip died suddenly.
Some say it was fever,
others say poison.
But Joanna, cloaked in black and cradling his cold hand, refused to believe death could take him. She ordered his body embalmed, sealed in a coffin of velvet and glass. And when they told her to bury him, she whispered, "Not yet." For weeks, she slept beside him, wept beside him, spoke to him as though love could wake the dead. The court gasped,
the people murmured.
And her father, Ferdinand, seized his chance.
He declared her unfit.
Without trial, without protest, Joanna was taken to a distant fortress and locked behind iron doors. And the coffin?
It traveled with her. She refused to part with him, convinced he would rise again, that love would defy mortality.
The soldiers grew afraid. The clergy called it possession.
But what no one saw, what no one dared name, was grief.
Unrelenting, unfiltered grief that had nowhere to go. And in the kingdom her mother had bled for, in the land where queens had conquered empires, Joanna was now a prisoner of her own heart.
And their fears. The years passed slowly, like candle wax dripping in an empty cathedral.
Joanna, once radiant with intellect and defiance, became a myth trapped in stone. In the fortress of Tordesillas,
her world shrank to shadowed halls.
Flickering torches and voices that never answered.
Her daughters were taken, her letters burned.
Her name erased from decrees.
She spoke to no one for days.
She stared at the walls, sometimes singing lullabies to the dark. The guards changed, but her chains did not.
Even her son Charles, who rose to become Holy Roman Emperor, treated
her not as mother, but as a liability.
He visited rarely, spoke coldly, and left quickly. Her food was measured, her rooms were patrolled, and the woman who had once been destined to unite thrones
now sat alone, beneath a leaking ceiling, with only silence for counsel. Sometimes, when the sun angled just right, she stood at the narrow window and lifted her hand, letting the light rest on her skin. "I am still here," she whispered once. No one heard. She died as she had lived the last half-century, in stillness,
in shadow, in exile.
There was no procession,
no mourning.
Only a quiet burial for a queen whose throne had been stolen by whispers.
But history cannot bury fire forever.
And, in the centuries that followed, her story leaked through the cracks, through dusty letters, forgotten paintings, and haunted ruins.
They called her Joanna the Mad. But what if she was simply a woman
who dared to feel too much in a world
built to punish emotion? What if her love was strength, not sickness?
Her grief a protest, not madness?
What if the only thing broken was the system that feared her?
Joanna never lost her mind. It was taken from her, stolen by men, who feared what a woman might become if she ruled with heart. And though her voice was silenced, her legacy whispers louder with each telling.
She is not mad. She is not forgotten.
She is the queen who waited, and through memory still reigns.